I think it's live. No?
So it says live, so we should be live. So hello, everybody.
Live.
Oh, I think it's live. No?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Dev.com AMA. My name is Jun Gang, and today we're going to have our guest, Urban Osvald from 0xcert. So welcome, Urban. Before we start answering other questions, will you just spend a little time to tell us who are you and what you do?
Absolutely. So, June, thank you very much for having me. It's really good. I'm looking forward to this. There were a few really good questions, so let's dive in. Let's say.
Okay, cool. Let's go for the first question.
There were a few really good questions, so let's dive in. Let's say.
Okay, cool. Let's go for the first question.
A few really good questions. So let's dive in. Let's say.
Okay, cool. Let's go for the first question.
I keep on hearing myself. So let's dive in.
Okay, cool. Let's go for the first question.
I keep on hearing myself.
Yeah, the first question, I think there's like an echo or something.
Maybe you have a YouTube link open somewhere and it's playing in the background.
Yeah, the first question, I think there's like an echo or something. So first question is from Mojave99. 0xcert had a very successful ICO this year. Congratulations. So what are you guys at right now, and are you planning on listing CXC on big exchange? Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, so the 0xcert ICO was actually really successful, and thank you for participating. We did finish it in all in 96 minutes, which was
wow.
Actually, so where we are right now, we are heavily focusing on the product side of things, developing basically everything that we laid out in the white paper, according to all the roadmap and the milestones. We are approaching one rather big milestone mid-November. We will be releasing a it's still in early stages of development, but it should be a DEX. I'm not going to go into too much detail, so stay tuned for this. We are definitely eager to get some early feedback on this, to see what I'm not going to go into too much detail, so stay tuned for this. We are definitely eager to get some early feedback.
Okay, very cool. So next question from Crypto is Futurix. So hi, 0xcert team, could you please share some insights on the future of non-fungible tokens, and what are some of the real use value beyond the gaming and art collections? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the gaming and art and collectibles are real use cases. They do provide real value. They're really good use cases, actually. But I do tend to call them a bit more serious use cases. So when we talk about stuff like real estate or any kind of certification, anything that's really connected to identity is something that's that requires a bit more thought than crypto collectibles, for instance. And I do think that that's sort of the next level where we are heading. Just that there's a few steps in the middle that we still need to take. Because if you look at the development part of this, we actually just got the standard for this, that sort of confirmed standard that everybody should adhere to. By far not the only one, and by far this is not the end of the NFTs with this ERC-1155, at least on Ethereum. But yeah, going beyond just crypto collectibles is going to definitely be a challenge. I think one big thing that's actually missing is tools to be able to adopt this. So if you think about real life scenarios, right? If you have a small and medium enterprise, they're, I don't know, software developers, a gaming studio, whatever, right? Experts in their field. For them, just getting involved in blockchain is a learning curve. Let alone getting involved in NFTs is a learning curve, right? So I think we as a community are still building the infrastructure that is more user-friendly, so that we, as the people inside this blockchain bubble, will provide these tools to the people outside of this blockchain bubble, and sort of we need to bridge this gap between just the people inside the blockchain and people outside, because in reality, right, you don't want to have people using blockchain for the sake of blockchain, but you want to see actual use cases, right? Blockchain is technology that provides value. It's not just a hype buzzword. And I think once we get to that stage, once we create these tools and these bridges, then we're going to see way more use cases than we see them right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next questions from Where's Jerry. When and why you decide to join the blockchain industry? I think it's you.
Personally, me. So I got involved in the early 2017, so early last year. Was still a really good time from a trader's perspective, from a market perspective, to get involved. But really, I was always really interested in new technologies. Before that, before getting into blockchain, I did a lot of IoT in medical. Before that, I worked in meteorology, so with bigger weather radars. So just being involved in technology all the time. But why I got involved is just something new. It's very exciting. It's very vibrant. And to be honest, I don't regret it at all. It's a great place to be in.
Okay. Okay. So how do you think of the user market of this year and the next few years? And should we comfort the future of the optimism? And what should we do? It's the question from a DP.
Yeah. Actually, I looked at the questions before we started, and I was thinking about this, and I think very important thing to note is that in 2016, 17, and even in the beginning of 18, there was a lot of hype in terms of what can be built. There was a lot of big words thrown around, visions, grand things, right? And now sort of everybody in the space is coming to this point that is actually building these things that they set out to do. And naturally, it takes time to build these things, right? If you set out a grand vision to disrupt a whole industry, then you're not just building a small app, right? You're not building something small. It literally takes time and developers to think of these things. When I talk to our developers, it's not just a challenge of how many lines of code you need to write. These are actually mentally very, very difficult challenges that we need to overcome. Also on a philosophical level, right? To what extent do you involve decentralization, not just NFTs, but blockchain in general? So I think what we are looking at for the next years is that these projects who promise certain things and are currently building them are going to come out and they're going to start releasing these technologies. I hope that people are actually thinking also about the users and about the business side of things, so that we sort of get this whole cycle, not just technology for the sake of technology because somebody funded it, but really the whole cycle of financing this as well. And I think once we get to that point, then you're going to see an influx of more users because we're currently, at the stage of building. overcoming user experience, overcoming scalability issues of Ethereum, for instance, which are big things, right? So I'm absolutely optimistic for the next couple of years. We're going to see a lot of projects come out with actually built solutions, and I think there's no reason for concern, to be honest. Now, what's going to happen on the market side of things is something completely different, and I don't think that we should even go into that that direction, to be honest, because it's way too speculative at this point in time. But once we tie this to actual products, I think it's going to be more crystallized.
Okay, so you're very excited about the future, right?
Oh man, absolutely. You know, luckily I'm in this position that I spend most of my time talking with people, talking with different projects, seeing how we can collaborate. We just started this Non-Fungible Alliance, and I really try to get involved as many people as possible. And to be honest, there are use cases on a daily basis that I encounter that I would have never thought of if I wouldn't engage with these people. So it's really cool to see what is out there and what's being developed, and there's really, I'm extremely optimistic and excited for the next couple of years.
That's nice to hear. Let's go ahead. The next question from Coach Smash. So what's your thought on the other protocols, for example, like ERC-1155 and ERC-998? So, and also, what if there's a case that people only want to use or borrow the token, but don't have to own a token? So do you think we can solve the case by using any of those protocols? And are you guys working on any new protocols?
So these are the 1155 and 998 are the engine standard. So the people at Engine came up with it, and the 998 is the composable standard. So I think these are all really good examples for specific use cases, right? Like I said in the beginning, I think 721, when we talk about Ethereum, is a great thing that we have. It's an actual confirmed standard that people can adhere to. Now, it's quite obvious that there's going to be more standards. I don't think that anybody ever doubted this. When it comes to the engine standard to 1155, it's just clear that they have a different use case and also different needs for what they want to achieve, right? So either ERC-20 might not be the best fit, or 721 might not be the best fit, because it's just a different use case. So I don't see anything wrong with that. In the contrary, I think it's awesome. Also for the composables, right? There's actually a very vibrant community built around this, and people are trying to think of use cases and what to do with it, and what are the options to do with it. Now, with that said, I do still sort of think about this in the sense that we shouldn't be building standards for the sake of building standards, but we should start with a use case and then build a standard around it. This is just a word of caution, so that I really want to emphasize it's important that the community decided, the Ethereum core developers decided that 721 is something that is actually needed, and we have enough use cases for it. There's enough applications using this so that the standard actually passed. Whereas with the other ones, with the proposals, we still don't have that velocity and volume of use cases coming out. So I don't know if these are going to prevail. Luckily, 721 passed, and we have something concrete that we're working with. We're still not sure. When it comes to the borrowing thing, I think that's an amazing use case, to be honest. I don't think to be honest, I'm not that big of an expert on 1155 and the composables to be able to say if those are the ones to be used for borrowing. It comes down to the use case. One good one is also subscriptions, right? Borrowing, subscriptions, stuff like that. These are also all use cases that we still are not using. It's an untapped market. And I think once we move along and these cases emerge, there's also going to be, groups of people developing the technology for that. So specifically, to be honest, I don't know if 1155 or 998 are good for, borrowing stuff. But there is definitely going to be a use case in the future that's going to require this. So I'm absolutely positive that this is going to be a really, really strong case.
Okay. So just curious, just from my I have a question. So which user case you feel fascinating so far, because you're talking to so many projects?
Oh wow.
Because we do. Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. So I think I wouldn't want to point out one specific. I really enjoy talking with people that work on something that is not just a simple collectible, that is not just a copy-pasted CryptoKitty. Always when I talk, for instance, I'll give you an example. All right, in gaming, I spoke the other day with a company called Ember Swords, or basically the brand called Ember Swords. And I absolutely loved what the guys had to say. Right, they were focusing on developing this whole MMORPG, and the 721 is just one thing within the whole game. Right, so I think this shows that there's a shift into a different direction, away only from collectibles. Now, if we go into I don't know, art, right? Codex is doing a great job. If we go into real estate, there's a few companies doing real estate. So I think I wouldn't like to point out one specific, because there's amazing people doing amazing things in their own verticals or industries that they really know. But like I said, I think there's so many options out there, and people are doing just so amazing things that I really don't want to point the finger on one person and say you're awesome. I guess so many people are doing so many awesome things.
So what you're saying is that those projects, they are solving the problem. They are having a use case, not just put up like non-fungible CryptoKitty, just like really simple thing, but they solve the problem, right?
Exactly. For me, so I have a business background, right? I don't have a technological or software engineer background, and I always try to add that perspective to discussions, because at the end of the day, if you don't have a market for something that you're doing, so if you don't have a person willing to pay you for what you're building, then you're building nonsense, in my opinion. Not completely. Because if you're building something open source and it's an infrastructure project, then you're doing something different. But most people are also looking to sell these solutions, right? And I think it's really good to see when people tell me, "Oh, we got 1,000 users for this, right? We did I don't know 20 million of volume last month on this," and this just shows that people are thinking beyond just the technological aspect of it, that the business case is important. And for me, this is also extremely important when these use cases and these visions culminate down into a actual number, right? It's really nice to see.
Good to know. So let's move on. The next one from Dr. Mitch.
Dr. Mitch.
Yeah. What do you think of the scalability issue of Ethereum, and how will 0xcert deal with all the slow transaction and high fees? And another question from him: and what are the key factors of designing a good token economy? Well, how to create a strong incentive for those adoption of an NFT.
All right. So, Dr. Mitch, so scalability on Ethereum, full disclaimer, I'm by far not an expert to be, giving valid opinions on scalability issues on Ethereum and how the guys are solving this. But when it comes to how we see and how we address this is, basically we as a protocol, right, as a solution, we try to be blockchain agnostic, meaning that meaning that we are basically, we're sort of the layer above the blockchains, right? We try to connect to any blockchain really that there is, and we try not to treat Ethereum as the only solution. Now, there is one extremely big upside to Ethereum, which is a large developer community. In general, it's a large community of people gathering around that, right? Which is an extremely big plus. You are able to get people on board. You're able to get people to review your code. Solidity is becoming a popular programming language, so that you actually have thousands of people using this. Whereas with other blockchains, you really don't have that. And this is a major problem when we, as a blockchain agnostic protocol, want to go into other popular blockchains, and it's difficult. But in a more general sense, what we're doing is really just risk mitigation. We, as a protocol, as a product, as a solution, we need to be able to see where the risks are, and definitely scalability on Ethereum being 6 months out for the past few years is definitely a risk, right? And we try to mitigate this risk by having a agnostic solution where the actual end user, or the developer that's going to be using this, says, oh, you know what, I don't want to use Ethereum for this. I want to use a private blockchain, for instance, and they're able to do this. So we're trying to set up as much as a agnostic protocol as possible. I hope this answered the first one. The second one, factors in designing a good token economy, how to create strong incentives for the adoption of NFTs. All right, so these are big questions. Strong token economy, I think with the emergence of the utility token, but also the NFT and the security token, this is becoming a more and more structured and very difficult question, right? Because you're not only able now to deal with only with the utility token, but you suddenly can represent unique assets, and you suddenly can have a form of security instruments tied into all of this, right? But in general, what I think is crucial for all of projects is that they create an ecosystem, an economic ecosystem around their solution. Because cryptocurrencies, if they prevail or not, I'm very bullish on the prevalence, but I'm not sure that they are going to prevail in this exact state that they're right now in, right? Because we're getting all of these new solutions and all of these new tokens, if you might, and these are creating different ecosystems than they were creating them in 2017, 2016, for instance. It was very different landscape. So I think in general, when you ask me what's a good token economy, I think it shouldn't add too much friction to what you're doing. It should provide extreme value in terms of you using this cryptocurrency, and it definitely should make sense from a user standpoint perspective. So if you're creating something, a solution, and just want to tie it to a cryptocurrency just because you want to have a cryptocurrency in there, then I don't think that that's a good way to go. Because at the end of the day, if users are not going to be creating this and using this, then it's all in vain, all in vain, right? So I think it's really important to think holistically about this. But when you ask me about the adoption of NFTs, I don't think there's a unified answer to that, right? Because if you do gaming, then you have a very different incentive than if you're trying to do real estate, right? It's sort of really hard to say what one thing is. But in general, I think that, like I said, it should be user-friendly. I think that's the biggest incentive that we get. Because right now, if you want to use NFTs, it's still not very user-friendly, right? Even if you're just having crypto.
No, which part?
Sorry?
Like, which part's how you
Yeah. So think about it, right? Let's say I bring John to the table, right? And I tell him, look, John, these are NFTs. This is a unique asset on the blockchain, and I want you to have it. He doesn't have idea what a cryptocurrency is. He doesn't know what a wallet is. He doesn't have MetaMask, for instance, right? He doesn't know what OpenSea is. Nothing, right? So imagine the journey that this person has to take in order to go from zero to having a NFT in his wallet and being able to do stuff with it, right? It's a fairly long process, and every optimization, online optimization, the more steps you add into the user journey, the lower the retention is, the bigger the drop-off rate is. And I think this is now. I mean, it's just too difficult for the regular John here to be using this, to be really exploring this. And I think this is going to be the incentive that we need to make stuff user-friendly.
Okay. Let's move to the next one from Urban Pro. So, two questions. Any insights on how to land a job in the blockchain industry? Wow. And can you recommend any promising NFT projects in the market so far?
Yeah. So, landing a job in the blockchain industry, I'm not going to go to, I think there's quite some resources out there that cover this. But in general, the space is developing, it's growing. The space in general is, you've got more and more projects on a daily basis. So I'm living in Slovenia, right? I'm in Ljubljana right now. And there is just a staggering amount of crypto and blockchain projects. It is just incredible, right? We were very fortunate that we got Bitstamp very early on. Projects like Economy, co-founded and so on, paved the way, and we really got a large community. So my advice would be just connect with the community. Just talk with people, tell them what you do, tell them what you want to do, get your foot in the door, and just, try it out. I think it's good. And to the second one, can you recommend some promising NFT projects in the market so far? I know of a company. It's called 0xcert. They should be really good. No, but all jokes aside, I think this is close to the question that you had previously about, what are the good projects in my opinion. The promising NFT projects, I think there's too many to count, to be honest. And I don't mean this jokingly. I really think that in this year alone, we had an explosion of projects and companies going into this field. And it would be really unfair to anybody to point a finger at anybody. I think it's really cool that we got CryptoKitties, and they showed what is possible, and they sparked this whole craze around the NFTs, right? And just having unique stuff represented digitally is amazing, right? And you've got so many projects out there. So I really, what I would suggest is go into a niche that you like, that you think is incredible. That might be, I don't know, patents. That might be supply chain. That might be collectibles, art, and find a company there. If not, shoot me an email. I'm going to help you. I basically know quite a lot of people here, and I'm happy to help.
Well, I think people just want you to mention some names, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do big name dropping though. I did already a few.
Yeah, you did already. So next one from the Wasted. They're wondering, does William still work with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Will is one of the key advisors to the company. Will is actually, he became a very close friend of mine in this journey of, in the 0xcert journey. And I'm really happy to get to know him. He's just an extremely smart guy. He helps out both with the sort of business side as well as with the technological side. He helps, on a variety of different things. So absolutely, he's definitely still involved. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
The next one is the project looks pretty much focused on developer side. So do you think there's a key factors towards the blockchain mainstream adoption?
Yeah. So I think that we are in a cycle right now that the whole community is trying to develop a lot of infrastructure for the applications to be built later. If you look at the space in general, you do have a lot of applications in terms of end user. You have a lot of infrastructure projects, not just blockchain projects, but also projects like 0xcert is, right? Trying to people to use this. So yeah, absolutely. I think that we are actually 2 steps away from mainstream adoption. First is to be able to connect with the developers outside the Ethereum blockchain bubble, and then the next step is going to be the actual end user connection. So we're still a few months out, but I think that yeah, absolutely, this is the first step that we need to take as a space.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I completely agree. It's so true. And the last question from Wasted. So what's the goal for your another project, Non-Fungible Alliance? And what the other projects you are currently working on besides Non-Fungible Alliance?
Yeah. So thank you for mentioning the Alliance. That's really cool. We just launched the webpage for the Non-Fungible Alliance. It's at nonfungiblealliance.org if you go and check it out. So what we're creating with this is I tend to call it a collaborative hub. What in the first step we're trying to achieve is just to provide a playground for all of the projects and companies in the NFT space. This is not limited to Ethereum, by far not. We've got a project it's called Unico. They're doing NFTs on EOS. So, a very wide range of projects are being involved. And I think that's the first space, right? Just get people together, get them talking, because usually the best things happen when people talk to each other, right? They bounce ideas, they brainstorm, and it's good to have a platform for that. The next sort of stage or step that is to involve people from different industries. So that might be supply chain, pharma, education, but whatever, right? People that are not blockchain first, but are really, really big players, incumbents in their industries. So if you look at or Microsoft, these are not blockchain first companies. Ernst & Young is not a blockchain company, right? But all of these companies, they sort of are trying to explore blockchain. They have blockchain departments. They might have developers, right? Blockchain developers trying to create something in that space. And I think, at least on our experience and experience of our friends, it's important to give these people a chance to connect with the space, to let them explore, to see what's out there, as opposed to a hard set, this is blockchain, you should be using it. Because we really don't want to see people shy away. It's more important that people explore and educate themselves in the first stages than just trying to black and white, you need to adopt this, there's no other way. And this is sort of what we're trying to create with the Alliance. Also, one important thing that we're trying to achieve is to involve, I like to call it a support network. So these are companies that provide any kind of services really, but are fluent quote unquote, in the NFT space. Now think of, and this is from completely personal experience, right? When we were doing the ICO and we went around and we spoke with either VCs, funds, marketeers, PR companies, you name it, legal people, we had a difficult time sometimes explaining what we're doing, right? And there's absolutely no problem with that. But I think for the space in general, it's good that the people who are really interested in this, let's say VCs, we have VCs that focus very nichely on the NFT space, right? And it's good surrounded by up-and-coming projects, right? And it's good for the project to talk with these people who might potentially provide some funding for them. Here's legal. Legal is a very, very difficult topic. If you go into real estate, for instance, it's very tightly regulated. You cannot just go and sort of do something with real estate and pretend that governments are going to be fine, right? You're currently, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's tightly regulated. So I think it's important that we have a platform where all of these people can converge and talk. We're going to have a few either workshops, online stuff, offline stuff, hopefully as well, newsletters, sort of trying to build it slowly. But I tell everybody this who has spoken with me over the past few weeks, this is by far not the magic bullet, right? This is just one of the things that we as a space have to create in order to talk to take certain problems, challenges, issues, and sort of discuss them and see whether everybody had the same experience, whether somebody solved it sooner, and so on. Because I don't think that the space right now is in the state that it should be a collaborative environment. We should be sharing, we should be talking to each other. And this is our way of trying to achieve this.
Very cool.
So, but if you ask me, besides the Non-Fungible Alliance, yes, we have quite a few things up our sleeve. Not sharing. Like I said, one of the bigger things that we've got coming up is the launch of an NFT DEX. So stay tuned. This is probably going to happen mid-November. Stay tuned. Follow us on all the social media channels, and we've got a blog on our webpage, so you can get regular updates on that. But I really don't want to go into too much detail on that.
Fair enough. It's coming up, anyways.
Exactly.
The next one is from Ahmad Sagir. And what is your plan to support composable NFTs and any tangible work in the industry on the standardized approach?
Yeah. So composables, we are currently not doing anything, to be honest, with composables. Our developers are familiar with it. I'm familiar with the people who are working on this. So shout out here to the people at Mokans, Haley, Nick. I think Matt Locker is doing a good job on this. In general, we are currently not that involved in this. We might be in the future when we see a use case for us, when we see a technological, meaningful way to incorporate this. But right now, unfortunately not.
Is there any tangible work in the industry on the standardized approach? Also from him.
Yeah, like I said, standard. What do you want to standardize? For the composables, I think the GitHub is quite active. There's a lot of development going on. But apart from that, I'm really happy that we got the 721 standard, right? That was a big step forward, and I hope other standards follow. Although, to be honest, at least from my exploring the space, I think the 721 is a good base to have. Now, of course, like we spoke about, for the 1155 and the composables, there's different use cases, and time will tell, really. Time will tell whether and how this is going to develop.
Okay. So here comes to our last question. It's from Jenny Crypto. CryptoKitty just raised another round of money, so I guess they're not just a simple NFT or game anymore. But what's NFT now and what's beyond an NFT? I think it's today, right?
Yeah.
They just raised a lot of money.
Yeah. So congrats to the guys at CryptoKitties. I think that's really, really amazing. But I think what they're doing is they are going in the right direction, because they started out with a sort of MVP. Let's just sell some cats on the blockchain, right? Give them some breeding functionality. But now, if you look at them, they're trying to create an ecosystem of dApps around this, of them, just printing out these kitties. And they want to see a whole ecosystem of applications built around this, not being built by them per se, but actually by the community. And I think that's a good direction that they're taking. Now, if you ask me if they're not a simple NFT game anymore, I don't know. I still think that they're an NFT game just trying to build something a bit bigger. I think what we're going to see is a actual, kitty in 3D soon. Maybe a kitty inside a different game. I don't know. Maybe if somebody plays Counter-Strike, they're going to, become a kitty or have a tattoo of a kitty. Maybe I don't know. I hope I hope that that's going to be the case. But for now, they're a game. They're a successful game. They do have the most, at least trading volume, playing volume, if you might. So that's great. But what's beyond, beyond just CryptoKitties? We actually hosted a meetup months ago that was titled exactly that. Going beyond CryptoKitties. So. We as a group of people, we think about this on a daily basis. How do we provide the technology so that not just us, but people, in 6 months, in 12 months, in 24 months are going to be easily going beyond CryptoKitties, so to say, right? So if you ask me what lies beyond, I think just imagination is the limit here. We're going to see a lot of different use cases popping up. We're going to see a lot of exploration. We're going to see a lot of different ideas. We're going to see a lot of different companies, as you see in the traditional startup space, if you can call it like that. You see a lot of different companies starting up, different ideas, and a lot of failures. And I do think that we will see a period in the crypto space where a lot of companies are going to fail, either running out of money, either failing to see product market fit, or teams breaking up, whatever. Right? There's a number of reasons why startups fail, and I think the same rules to crypto. It doesn't matter. If you don't have demand for what you're doing, you're failing to provide a or a solution for a problem. And will tell, really, time will tell what lies beyond just CryptoKitties. Maybe nothing lies beyond CryptoKitties, although I'm extremely bullish that there's quite a lot of stuff beyond that, right? But in general, I think what we're going to see is try different things, are going to fail. Some of them will succeed. And if you're going to ask me the same question in 2-3 years, everybody's going to be saying, oh, it was so apparent, right? That and that use case, obviously we need NFTs for that, right? How nobody thought of that before. But on the journey towards there, there's just going to be some bumps, there's going to be ups and downs, there's going to be a lot of exploring. Looking forward to this exploration phase, right? Because you get to talk to so many people, you get to work on so many different, and it's just space that's pulling everybody in. So I'm really looking forward to the next to what lies beyond just CryptoKitties.
Same here. So I think that's it. That's all the questions. Do you want to add something?
All right.
Do you want to add something? Or
well, I really wanted to thank you for inviting me and for inviting 0xcert to be part of this AMA. I think it's great. I mean, June, we've known each other for some time. It's really nice to be working on stuff together, to connect. Dev.com is also in the non-fungible. Props to that. No, but really, I really wanted to thank you. I think the whole space is very friendly, vibrant. It's just with people with so many different projects, and I'm just excited what lies ahead.
Thank you so much. You're so kind. So if you wanna reach you, so how can they reach out to you?
So in general, 0xcert.org. If you go to our webpage, there's all the social media links. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook. We have a lively Telegram group. We've got a Reddit, whatever. You can reach out directly to me, urban@0xcert.org. I'm more than happy to talk with everybody. Just shoot me an email, connect with me. But yeah, in general, find us online, find us on social media, on Telegram, and please, let's connect.
Very cool. So thank you so much. And it's so nice to have you. So it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Urban.
All right, June, thank you very much, and have a good evening.
You too. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.